Okay. I don't know how much of that was lagging, but let's try it again. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. All right. Let's try it again. Let's see if now it's better. I don't know where that. I don't know where that was coming from. If it's my end or Geraldo's end. Hmm. What's going on? Oh, wow. Okay. Let me try again. Let me try again. So we're here on the live with Geraldo Cruz, author Geraldo Cruz, and I'm trying to get him back in because the signal wasn't going right. But let's try it again. Let's try it again. ¿Qué onda? ¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo estamos, Marco? How you doing, carnal? How's everything?
All right.
Let's try it again. Let's try it again. I'm not sure if it's my end, your end. I don't know what's going on, but let's try it again. Here we go. So, yeah, so we were discussing your first book, Blood Ties. Now, the characters are really interesting. Like, I love how you start, and I don't want to give out, a lot of detail about the book for the people that haven't read it, but just the some basic scenes that really stuck out to me, just in the way you structured the beginning of the book. You structure like before as a kid, the young days of the main character, which his name is Jacob, or they call him Jake. Uh, and I just love how you transition that so beautifully into, when a tragic event happened, and then you see him already grown up, and now he's become kind of like a vigilante as a what is it, investigator, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh, and I love how you did that. Where did you find that in another book that you read before, like how to transition, or where did you get that skill to be able to do that?
Well, I mean, with with that particular thing, uh, I don't know. I read a lot of books growing up, and a lot of them have prologues, and it just like the prologue gives some background on the character without really having to go into a lot of detail. You just need to know this one main thing happened to this guy that made him what he is, and I kind of just I figured because that wasn't in the original thing that I wrote when I was 15. That was something that I just decided I was gonna do. When I wrote the story I wrote when I was 15, it actually starts when he gets assigned the case. Um,
Oh,
so like for me, like just reading certain things, reading books, I figured like, oh well, it would be cool if I just add this like little backstory like that'll I don't have to go into too much, but it's so traumatic what happens to him. Like you say, you don't want to give it away, and you know, I mean, if people want to read it, it's like it's up there on Amazon. Like you could read the opening prologue on Amazon, so it's just whatever.
okay.
You know, not really giving it away, but you know, uh, you just get to see the thing that made him what he is, and it's just like, and you see when you're introduced to him as an adult, you see how angry he is. You know, that's the other comment that I got about that book. They were, uh, were you angry when you wrote this? And I was just like, you know, I was like a normal 20 some odd year old by the time this thing was done. So, I mean, I had my issues. I'm like any other writer. I have my issues that I out, and this is how I chose to do it. So, yeah. So as transitioning though, it's just like I like doing prologues. All of my books have prologues, and then they
Okay.
story, and then they'll have an epilogue. Like you'll see when you finish Blood Ties, you'll see at the end they all have epilogues too.
Now, you know what? I kind of feel that I would have liked to read more of his, his younger days, like more of it, like it's more in detail of how it was, the story behind his pops and just everything like that,
No,
something that had unraveled more and more like that before he actually grown up.
you're gonna get to that stuff. Believe me.
Oh yeah, so you're gonna go back.
So if you're gonna get to that, like, trust me. With his, as far as his father and all of that other stuff, like his upbringing, you'll see it gets discussed not only there, but it gets discussed throughout the whole 9 books of the saga. So
Mm.
it's a long story, you know, like it's not just even though like they're all singular books. I mean, I'm telling an overarching story, which uh, I didn't expect to be doing. I expected to write the one book and be done, and
Hmm.
sell a million copies and then just retire. That just didn't work out for me. So but like definitely like you'll get to reading it. It's like you'll get to this, and hopefully you'll want to read some more. And I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Believe me.
No doubt, no doubt. Oh man, see that's what I'm talking about. Like it's unexpected as a writer. A lot of people have told me that it's really unexpected what happens once you get going. Once you start, it can be a whole trilogy or it can just be a standalone. But it just depends as you go. I guess you get the feeling of what can come out of it more than like I guess they some people even say that some writers even say that even the characters themselves start to unravel their own continuation. They need more. It's like they need a boy, like they voice out that they need to continue more with the story. Like there's more to it. Did you
Mm-hmm.
ever get that, or is that does some
Yeah,
people get that?
this story kind of wrote itself. Like I said,
Okay.
I just write one book, and then I ended up writing. There are 9 books. There are 3 trilogies. So story within a story within a story. And for me
Mm.
personally, like with the first is done writing, like I was, done with this character. I was done writing. I was like, oh, I wrote my 3 books and I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people that read it said, like certain things that happened to me personally. I had some health issues, and a friend of mine was, well, I said, I got all this time off from work. It's like, what am I going to do with it? And a friend of mine was like, well, why don't you write? I said, write what? He's like, why don't you go back to writing Jake Castillo? I'm like, I finished that story. He's like, that story wasn't done. I'm like, what? He's like, that story was.
Huh.
He's like, you need to go back and finish it. And I'm like,
Huh.
it was as done as I was gonna get. And I was just like, he was like, no, there's more in you. And I was just like, oh, so okay. So I made a deal with him because he's a good friend of mine. I said I'll write 15 pages, and if I don't like it, I'm gonna scrap it. But if I write
Huh.
15, I get it going, then we'll see how it works out. And that's how the second trilogy got. Because yeah, it was weird because I hadn't written for this character since 2005, and when I had uh, for when I had surgery, I was laid up for all that time. It was 10 years later. It was 2015.
Mm.
You write
Wow.
something in your 20s and then you go back in your 40s and you write something and it's a whole different thing. It's just like, okay, well, I have to find a way to unravel this story now and
Mm.
see what I can do to this character. And it only took me 15 pages to ruin this guy's life again. And I'm just
Wow.
sorry. So
Wow.
I said, and like I said, like I don't regret it at all. Like that was the best thing that somebody could do. Is just like to just go and push me to do more and to do and to write more, because you're not really done writing. It's just like if there was more story to tell, it's just like you gotta finish it out. And I feel like now I've I've finished. I, I'm not gonna go into. I'm not gonna spoil it. It's like I finished some of the story, and uh, you know, who knows what the future holds. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the end for everybody. I know at least two people who have read all 9 books.
Oh wow. Okay.
They were like, I see that coming. You know what I mean? Okay, I said that's my thing. It's just I write the end first.
Huh. That's interesting. As for inspiration, what like when you're when you're experiencing some type of writer's block, or you're just looking at that blank screen, you're like, okay, what's next?
Oh,
What do you I mean, what do you do with that?
I'm hating those times. Like when that last book where I was on such a roll because I had written the previous book, and I was just going and going and going, and then all of a sudden it's just like I was going with this one, with the last one, and then all of a sudden I decide, well, let me just throw this in there, and then I hit this brick wall, and I didn't write for 3 months. And I think during those times you have no choice. You have to step away from it. You know what I mean? It's just it
Hmm.
that I had so much done. I had like at that point I had like over 100 pages done on that book. But then
Okay.
I was just sitting there, and I let it sit there until I had stopped writing in October of last year,
Mm.
and I let it sit there until January because of the holidays and all that stuff. I was just like,
Hmm.
like if you're gonna get writer's block, now's the best time. Uh, and you just gotta step away from it and just refocus, and then okay, let me go back in and let's read the story over again, because that's what I always do. Is just like
Mm.
read it over again, see if all of this stuff is still making sense 3 months later, uh, and then just try to pick it up from there. And eventually I did, and then I ended up finishing the book right right before COVID happened. you know,
Mm.
they locked us down back in March, so
Oh.
uh, that was just timing. I was like, oh, that's great. But then I had nothing to do with my time, so then I put out like a bunch of short stories, that
Okay.
on the shelf. And like it was kind of like it's not part of the saga. It's kind of like an add-on. You know what I mean? So that you get a better idea of the character.
Mm. Okay, okay. See, that's inspiring me to me, like to hear like a perspective of someone else, how they do it when they're like stuck. Like you hate like just being a writer in general when that happens. You're like, am I even cut out for this? Like you start, questioning yourself about you as a writer, like what's going on? Like, do I not have it, or is this not for me? Or
Yeah, my whole thing is like, why the fuck did I start this?
um,
So I was just like, you have to walk away from it. Like there are times where if you're in the process of something, it's just like you have to walk away from it. Like if it gets to be to a point where you're just because otherwise you're just gonna frustrate yourself, and then everything you put down,
yeah.
everything you type is gonna come out like crap, and you don't want that. You don't want
Hmm.
to like I'm gonna get in the middle,
Yeah.
which I'm half okay with, and then no, you want to keep writing and be sure and be focused with what you want to do and what you want to get across. Like I may have had the ending, but it's that's no sure knowing the ending of a book is no sure thing that it's gonna be like great. It's just like you still have to you have to fill up like what is it? Most of my books are 250 pages. Uh,
Hmm.
have you still have 220 pages. You have to kind of read it interesting. That's what I try to do. Like I put up a blog on my Goodreads page, and I said, don't be boring. Don't
Mm.
boring. And that's the mantra I live by. It's just like when I write, it's just like don't bore the reader. It's just like keep the story going, keep the story flowing, keep it moving. And that's why I mean I guess that's what appeals to the people that have read my stuff. It's just that I keep it
Mm.
going. You know,
Mhm.
like I still get shy when I introduce it to somebody new. It's like I sent it to you, and I was just like, I don't know if he's gonna read it, but I'll send it to him.
Yeah, I just love to read different. I mean, every writer has their niche of how to get into it, how to present the characters. Everyone has their own way of presenting characters and just a style of. I just love to see different ways of transitioning from paragraph to paragraph and chapter to chapter. How people end their chapter. That's a big one right there. How to end chapters.
Yeah,
A lot of people have a hard time with that because they feel that it has to end with some kind of conclusion, and not always. Not always.
I do too, because my thing is just like, okay, I'm done writing, and then when I open up the next chapter, it's the next day, and that's think I have a habit of doing that. I've done that. I believe I've done. I do have a habit of doing that. It's just listen. This is how the night ended because everything. I don't write in these books are not taking place over a long period of time. These books are
um,
typically taking place over either a couple of weeks or a couple of months. The trilogies take place over a couple of months. The books maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You know, uh, and it's just I just keep it going. I keep the action going. It's just I don't try to bog down with the description, being too descriptive, being big words or whatever. It's just like it's just what are you more interested in? It's like are you more interested in my vocabulary or are you interested in the story? And I want
mm,
more interested in the
yeah,
oh my god, let me look up this word on Google. I'm not trying to do that shit.
yeah. That's another question right there. Timeline. How do you keep track of the time within the story?
uh they normally with these stories that go day by day. Like it's just
Okay.
like I don't. It's very unless something big happens, which you'll see. Uh, I don't know
Hmm.
where you've gone with the book, but like unless some major event happens, I don't really skip a lot of days. It's just okay, the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, you know,
Mm.
and that's how I do it. And I don't know if anybody else does that, you know, uh, because I haven't really read much lately. Um, like you know, I'm more of like a classically trained writer. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Uh, like I'm more into like these old books, like of mice and men, and
Okay.
stuff like that. Like I don't really read too much of the new stuff. And then you know, and plus I don't really want to ape somebody's style. You know what I mean?
Mm.
People,
How do you do it to not like come out copying something you read, copying the style you read? How do you stay away from doing that?
uh, that's hard. It's just every writer's different. Everybody's got their own style, and
Mm.
I've got my own style. I think I've developed it pretty good over the past 30 years. And my style is is very simplistic and minimalistic, like I told you. Uh,
Mm.
you know, people could probably ape my style and be a good writer. But you know, um, but I don't, like as far as like the books that I read coming up, um, like I mostly read like the classics, like Catcher in the Rye, Mice and Men, uh, you know,
Mm.
some Stephen King. Stephen King, he, he's very descriptive with his writing.
He is.
Like
Mm.
sometimes, it's just like, get to the point, bro. I like Stephen King, but sometimes
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
I'm a
want to
big
get,
fan too.
yeah, I want to get to the point, and
Mm.
you know, um, my style is very visual and very fast paced. It's to keep the pace moving.
Huh. It's funny you mentioned of Mice and Men. I'm actually in Selena's hometown of John Steinbeck.
Oh yeah, that's
Hello? Oh, you hear me? Okay.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually here, Selena's.
Oh,
Born and
nice.
raised Selena's. Yeah. I actually went to go see his grave not too long ago, maybe a little bit before COVID hit. I went out there to check out his grave. Yeah, yeah.
So
But what was that?
what made you start writing?
Oh, and me start writing. Experiences actually, since I'm into like hip hop, so I already wrote stories in form of like lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that kind of like the visualization of the lyrics, kind of is the same thing as storytelling. So it's that got me into telling about experiences, things that I've seen, heard, and
Yeah.
just things that and not only that, but I love just storytelling. I love that. So there's a lot to do with that in movies. Just like you, movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Movies was my
Visualizing something and
yeah.
yeah,
Movies was my biggest influence.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
if I had to pick three movies that influenced my writing, one would be Black Rain with Michael Douglas.
Mm,
One would be Sea of Love with Al Pacino,
mm.
and the last one, which to me was the missing ingredient in my writing, was The Crow with Brandon Lee.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was,
That was a good one.
yeah, that was like it was a beautiful story, and I was just like, man, I want to write something like that. It's just like I
Mm.
need to find a way to do something like that. And like everybody's different. I read the graphic novel that movie was based on, and I know the history of the
Uh,
James O'Barr. Uh, and he had it pretty rough because he lost his girlfriend in a
mm.
car accident. And he ended up producing that piece of work, and it was just it's beautiful. Like for a graphic novel, it's just awesome,
Mm.
awesome story. Yeah.
Do you ever, when you like a movie, do you ever try to find the novel that came before the movie?
uh, not not really. Like you know, a lot of okay, like when I was growing up, a lot of the books that I liked were the Star Wars books.
Okay.
And like that was another thing that kind of like I would read the stories, and as a kid you read them and it's just like, oh, none of this happened in the movie. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But yeah, but like as far as like movie novelizations, I don't really look for the book like it that based on, because sometimes it's completely different. I did that with The Firm with Tom Cruise,
Okay.
and that movie and that book was totally different. like
Ah,
like I was just like, this shit didn't happen here.
ah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
but then it was just
So
like
like me,
like
yeah.
later on it's just like us like, well, how are we gonna do, we couldn't exactly translate the book to the movie because how's it gonna look when you're watching 20 minutes of people photocopying files. I was just,
Yes,
that makes
that's
sense.
true. Yeah. Like for me, like I would like to know when it's like those psychological thrillers that like you really have to know what's in the whatever the murderer, whatever's mind to really know what's going on. And a book will tell you that detail, you
Yeah.
know?
No, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but then sometimes you have to go in the dark recesses of your own mind and kind of
Yeah.
put it on paper too. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
like I wrote like on a post. I said, my best,
Yeah.
you know, you'll see.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So for the whole like it took you how long for the whole series? Like altogether?
Well, okay. For the whole series, it was weird because first trilogy, I wrote the first book and then what ended up being the third book first, and that's
Mm.
because the third intended to be just supposed to be 2 books, but then life happened,
Mm.
and you know, I was with somebody, and she was pregnant at the time, and she lost. We lost the baby, and
Mm.
I really just had a lot of anger over a lot of things that needed to come out, and it wasn't me writing a short story about it wasn't gonna do it. So I ended up taking uh you know the novel, and then the second, what would be the second novel, and just kind of sticking it into that first trilogy. And people read the second novel
Mm.
like, whoa, like, that's my friend's favorite one. It's like he loves the second book, and it's just like, this is just like really just angry. um
So
but
it's darker, huh? The second one is darker.
the second one is really dark, and you get more of a sense of the character
Mm.
going to be going forward, because this is just
Mm.
the first book is set up, and then the second book on to the end is what he ultimately becomes. Um so in doing that, I wrote uh, that book. Let me see, the whole series, I would say I was done with the first book like maybe 1993. Then I wrote the third book in 2002, and then the second book I wrote in 2005. So that's like that's almost,
Oh, okay.
that's 8. Yeah, 8. No, actually more. I can't count. It's like that's almost 12 years writing the first trilogy. Then
Wow.
when it came to coming back, and my friend putting the idea in my head, like, this isn't done. Uh, I started writing in 2014, and then the final book I ended up finishing in you know put out this past September.
Mm.
So that's another 6 years of my life right there. So it's a long time.
Wow.
Like I
That's
yeah, it's a lot
that's
of
some time.
and
Yeah.
it's like I said, I'm proud of it. If, like I said, I'm gonna send you all of them, so you can just read it like on your own time. You don't have to fuck.
Yeah.
But
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. It's just, having that, I mean, just having an idea in your head for so long, and you're like wanting to cut for it to come to, in the physical form, is like, now that you already passed so many parts of the story, how does it feel like? Does it feel like that's over with, or is it like you still have some more to put into it? Like, would you still have, if you could go back into the first book and add more stuff to the first book? Would you?
uh, yeah, I probably would. I probably would go back
Okay.
and put some more stuff in there that kind of certain that happen later on. But then, like I said, like, for me, I don't think I'll ever be done with this character. Like,
Mm.
that's just my opinion, because I love writing for him. Um, like, and plus the story has gaps, so I can always go back and do certain things that I wanted to do that I wasn't able to do. My main concern with this, and why I put out 9 parts, and why I wrote this the way that I did. Uh, I don't know if you know Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, well, that guy still hasn't come out with like the next book, and my whole thing is just like,
Mm.
I don't want to. God forbid something happens to me that this story doesn't.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was like, what, I wanna have my story out there. I wanna have
Mm.
my story. I just wanted, like, to have a conclusive ending, rather than like, God forbid something happens to me and nobody knows how this ends. At least now, like, everybody knows it how it ends, for this character and stuff. So And then if I wanted to go back and write other stuff, like there are gaps in the story that I can go back and fill, you know, which, eventually I'll end up doing anyway. It's like, hopefully, you know, sometime soon. But like I have to kind of, this thing, I had to kind of take a break from this character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like it's like I've explained, it's a big part of my life right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm eventually gonna go back. I'm 100. I said I was not gonna write until next year. Like after I put out the last book in September, and then 2 days later, I was back writing the next freaking book. You, as a writer, you get kind of obsessed with an idea, and you kind of,
Yeah.
oh no, I gotta put this out there. I mean, and my whole thing is just like, for the next book, I'm not gonna put it out until September of next year, and then, but then in the meantime, it's like I'll probably end up putting
Okay.
stories that have nothing to do with this character, because I wrote so much
Yeah.
course of so many years since I had a computer, since like, what is it, Windows 95? Yeah, that's when I had
Mm.
a computer, and I wrote so much, and it's just like there's just like tons and tons of stories that I got there that I could just put
Mm.
together, put out a collection, and just be like,
Uh,
it'll be weird, because like the people that they read my stuff and they know me for this series, they'll put out this collection of short stories, and it's a bunch of comedies, and it's just like, where'd this come from? But sometimes I did a lot of experimenting with my writing. I didn't just want to be just a thriller writer, or a crime writer. I wanted to do other things. I wanted to like experiment and
mm.
do like more down to earth stories, more everyday life stories and stuff. And a lot of those stories were pretty funny. And I would like to share that with people too, if I could.
Mm. Okay. Now I noticed that for me, when since I've been like actually like serious about writing and stuff, I've noticed that when I'm out and about, I try to like I see something happening, and in my mind I'm like, how would I have described what I just seen right now? In what way would I describe that? I kind of like do those challenges to myself. Like, how would I? Okay, this dude is doing this and he's doing that, and then he went in his car, he drove away, he gave kind of a stare back at the person that was next to him. How would I describe that in a paragraph? Things like that.
Yeah. No, that's normal. And sometimes you just gotta write it the way it happened. You know what I mean? That's the basis. Like you have to write the basis of what you saw. Like I did that with certain things that happened on the subway. You know,
Hmm.
I just put it into a story the way that I saw it, because this is how it happened. And yeah, I'll inject my own thoughts as to how I felt about seeing this thing happen in the middle of writing it. You know what I mean? Like in the middle of describing it. Uh, like what the, like, this is insane. But that normally, like I said, the basis is you just write it, you just tell it like you saw it, and then like you interject your own thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As to how you felt about seeing whatever it is that you saw.
Hmm. Yeah. As for marketing, how were you when you finished the first book? Did you already have a thought of how you were going to market it?
No, like because when I put it out there, it was 2000, and when I first put it out, it was 2009, and my whole thing was just like, everything was very different back then than it is now. And I just kind of like, I put it out there. It was more for me than anything else. So marketing, it wasn't important. And then when I re-released it in 2018, you know because I'm an independent writer,
Mm.
all the marketing and promotion has to come down to you. It's all you doing everything. There's no agent, there's no nothing. So I mean, I put it up on my social media pages. I put up videos on Instagram. Like if you see, like you see, I have two pages. One is basically
Hmm.
books, and one is for my personal stuff, which I don't think anybody cares about. But you know, uh, but yeah, I had, and believe me, those videos that I did that are on my page, I hated doing every last one of them because
Really?
it was so uncomfortable to talk like I'm into photography. I got like my own, camera set up over here. I got my own, uh, I got a black screen over here and stuff. But like talking to the camera and just trying to tell the story of your books and whatever, it's just you couldn't imagine how many takes I threw in the garbage. Like it was just hard. It was just like, but like in the end, for all my work, it was only 5 minutes of footage.
Mm.
It was just,
Wow.
it's just like, damn. And then there was one time where when I had my girlfriend like, you know, taping me like in the park, and then I had like all these interruptions, like these kids are screaming.
Mm.
I had helicopters flying overhead, and that was a whole other situation. It was just like this ridiculous. But yeah, like I put it on my social media pages. I got a Facebook page. I got the Goodreads page. I got the Instagram page. I got a Twitter account. So it's just like, and I put it out there. And I know I probably annoy the hell out of people with all the posts about the books. I'm just like, listen, right now, Instagram is the algorithm in Instagram with what happened with this election. They're
Oh,
killing
yeah.
your posts. So your posts are not going out there. They're not reaching
Mhm.
anybody. So you just got drilling and drilling and drilling until all of this stuff passes. So you know, I know I have to put my stuff out there, like and market it, and that's how I try to do it with the videos, try to do it with the posts and stuff, and you know, uh, varied success is all I can say.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you ever try going to like the local bookstores or maybe even out of town bookstores and try to have like have some kind of setup where it's like a meet and greet or maybe you telling a chapter of your story or something?
No, because my thing is, I suffer from the disease of shyness, like was said in Rocky. So it's just like, um, like I've never tried to do that. I was just like, well, this is the way I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it online, and then if somebody asked me, like you asked me to appear on the show, I was like, I'm gonna accept. And hell yeah, I was nervous coming on here. So, but I did it, and it's just like it's one of those things where you have to do it. It's like as a writer, I'm naturally introverted. I'm in my own head all the time, and it's just
Hmm.
but you can't. You have to put yourself out there because if you don't put yourself out there, nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know your books exist. And
Exactly.
you know, my whole thing is just like I don't have any problems sharing it. Like because at the end of the day, all I want is for people to read the books. You know,
Hmm.
besides the good, bad, or indifferent, is a whole other matter. It's like, but you can't be afraid to put yourself out there. You know what I mean? And that's what I
Hmm.
my social media pages.
For sure.
Like, yo, I can't stand Jay Castillo.
Have you ever, by any chance, had a dream of this character?
Uh no, no, no.
Uh,
I say that I have. Uh, like, uh, I can't say that I've had a dream about him. It's just like it's one of those things where you know, he's been he's been in my head so long since I was 15. Like we're talking 30 years. Like we're living with a whole other, you know, personality, as part of you. But I don't dream about him. No, I don't envy his life at all. Like you'll see, you thank God I still got my mom. Uh,
mm,
and, uh, you know, I really there's some parts I do envy about him, but those come later on.
mm. Hey, maybe Jake Castillo is a sign from God, JC.
Yeah, I know.
I was just thinking like, hey, maybe there's some sign coming down to you, brother.
There's a lot of like in the whole series. There's a lot of like not, it doesn't get preachy, but there's a lot of like spiritual and religious imagery and religious themes in the in you know.
Okay.
So it's just like it's one of those things where it's like, it wouldn't surprise me.
Mm. What surprise you? Uh, and then finally, brother, I would like to ask you about how you went ahead and self-published, because a lot of people, that's where they get stuck. There's a lot of guys that I know that have already have a manuscript ready for print and everything, and they're just like, okay, what now?
All right, so Amazon, they have a site called Kindle Direct Publishing,
Mm,
and basically you could put your book on ebook and paperback
mm,
to be distributed. You set the price. You set, basically, if you publish on paperback, you get 60. It's a 60-40 split. If you publish
okay.
on Kindle, it's a 70-30 split in your favor. And they pretty much guide you through the process. They have their templates there where how you could format the book that are already available. They have a way to design your covers, you know, um, and the as far as the lettering and stuff, if you want to put an image on there, that's got to come from you. And I put my own images on. And it was a lot simpler than I thought it was gonna be, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it,
Was
it
was it hard to like convert? Because were you writing in what format were you initially writing in?
I was writing in Microsoft Word,
Oh,
and
okay.
whole thing with their templates. Their templates are already set up for the way it's supposed to be on a book. So basically, what all you
Okay.
is copy the text from your Word document, put it into their template, which is another Word document, but the margins are already set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you save it in a PDF, or you save it. You could put it up as a Word document, but it's much more preferable if you put it up as a PDF.
Yeah.
And then you upload it to their site, and then they run you through the rest of the process. But it was a lot. I know it could be intimidating. It was intimidating when I first tried it back in 2018, but now it's just like it's nothing. It's real simple, to be honest.
Hmm. Okay. Um, do you are you in some kind of a like group where other writers kind of share, or do you get any do you talk to any other writers?
I have a friend that writes also. Uh, I bounce ideas off of him. He bounces ideas off of me. Uh, and we kind of exchange our ideas together. Like that's probably as close as I get to talking to anybody else besides like this format about anything that I write. Like,
Hmm.
uh, you know, you'd be surprised. Like, not a lot of people read nowadays. I don't know what the fuck is,
Exactly. That's true.
but
It's a shame, but it's true.
it's a shame. And the whole thing about it was like, but that's who I mainly go to. He writes and I write. I edited a book for him once, and something that was hard because you know, like he started out in his case, he started out with one idea, and then the book, midway through the book, it became something else, and I was like, look,
Mm.
um, you know, this has to, you have to change this. I mean, you went from one end of the spectrum, and then this it became a whole different story. I I don't know what you were trying to do, like settle on one idea and see it through. It's hard for
Mm.
him because he's got a family. He's got a family. He's got kids.
Mm.
I'm living bachelor life over here, so it's do
Yeah.
whatever.
Because like for writers, like up and coming writers, what do you suggest when they need, because we all need to have someone to talk to about our ideas, and maybe get some get some ideas from them, some feedback? What do you suggest they do?
They like you said, they should go online. They should do research. They should go to like various blogs, various writing blogs. You know, talk to other authors online. Like Instagram's got a bunch of hashtags that have other authors, and they're like very, some people, you can go on Twitter and you can ask questions there, even though Twitter is kind of toxic sometimes and stuff like. But the writing is not like that. The Twitter's toxic when it comes to politics and stuff. It's like, but like,
Oh, yeah.
it's not that toxic. Uh, and you could go and you could ask for advice. You could like link up with other writers, and then and then find your way that way. Like for me, it's good for a young writer. That's the way that I would go, because you guys have so many things available to you now that I didn't have back then. Like when I started writing. Like when I started writing, I was just alone, and then it was just like I felt my way through the whole process, and it was almost like, even though I took a writing class in college, like I still consider myself self-taught, and the writing class just helped me to polish what was already,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like the writing class helped me with grammar and prose and stuff like that. But everything else, it didn't really affect the story. It's still like, at the end of the day, that's still me that wrote everything, and that writing class was just, it just polished it. That's why I tell you, it's like, you don't need it. You might need it to polish your work, but you don't need it to write your story. Like everybody's got their own story. That writing, and that's it. Like your story is your story.
I appreciate that. There's a lot of people out there with ideas. I have a bunch of ideas all the time. I carry a little notebook with me wherever I go, and I'm always just writing ideas, and it's the thing that kind of keeps me from finishing anything is that I write a little bit of each idea of each story that I'm writing. I write a little bit here, a little bit there, like, I don't know. I think I have ADHD or something. I can't stick to one thing. Like I have to jump to different stories.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's people out there with the same problem, that they have so many ideas that they don't know which one to put more emphasis on.
Yeah, like a lot of people have problems focusing, and that's not just you. That's like any creative person. They have problems focusing on certain things. It takes a very special mind to just kind of just sit there and have an idea, focus on it, and then run with it for 200 or 300 pages. You know what I mean? Like that's hard for people to do. I asked my friend, it's just like, well, you writing again? He's like, nah, it's just like, I got all this going on at home and blah, blah, blah. And then then there's the other group of people that are like, it's just like, oh, it's like, I like writing. It's just like, oh yeah, what have you written? It's just like, oh, well, I want to write this novel. It's like, when are you going to start? It's just like, I haven't started yet. I'm just like, the first step is just putting it down. You have to put it down, and you have to start writing it, because it's not going to write itself. And then it's sit there in your mind, and it's just going to, depending if you care about it, it's going to bug the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's haunting, I'm always thinking about it. I've been thinking about it for years, like, and it's still not completed. So I'm like, damn, all the time. And that's why I need that inspiration. And like I tell my wife, like, I need to talk to like-minded people, because, I don't talk to anyone, like that's writing. I don't talk to any writers. I mean, I talk to musicians, but it's a different thing. It's not the same as for writing a novel. It's not the same. Storytelling, but it's not the same format. So it's,
I'm gonna put it to you. I'm gonna put it out there for you. If you ever need any help or whatever, it's like, or any advice, you let me know. You can come to me, and I'll help.
Okay.
All right.
Appreciate that. So now, as for the platforms where you have your social media, so it's Instagram, you said, you have Twitter, and you have Facebook. They're all under the same name?
Well, the Twitter one is messed up because I could only put so many characters in there, but the Twitter one, at Geraldo Cruz BKS.
Hmm.
The Instagram is at Geraldo Cruz Books. The Facebook is at Geraldo Cruz Books. And Goodreads, I guess you could just look up my name, and the books will
Okay.
appear.
Okay. And as for movies, going into the movies, is there any talk of that transitioning the story into a movie?
You know, like people have asked me that. I see it more like a it was okay when I first wrote this thing. It was meant to be a comic book,
Okay.
which was pretty funny. I wanted my friend to draw it, and it took him.
I seen that sketch that your friend was he had done.
Yeah, it took him 7 years to give me a finished product, which is hilarious. But him all the time, and then finally on my birthday, he gave it to me, and I was just like, I was just thrilled. I still have it; it's in storage. Uh, you know, but like when I think about these books, like I envision them more like like almost a series because
Mm-hmm.
it's a long story. I mean, they could be movies, but I think more likely they would probably be better off being a like a series, because you could drag that out for a couple of seasons. You basically almost have 9 seasons of work here. Um, I would love to. I would love. I would love to see Jay Castillo on the big screen or the little screen or whatever.
Mm. Yeah.
When you get into it, and more than likely, if anybody if he were to be picked up, he'd probably be picked up on something like HBO or something because this is really dark and really,
Graphic. Yeah.
like as the books go on. Like Blood Ties is the cleanest book that I wrote. Uh,
Okay.
I'm just being honest.
Oh, okay.
Like it's the cleanest book that I wrote, and like you know, listen, I listened to the people that were reading it. And it's just like, oh well, you need more, oomph in it. And I was just like, okay. So then sometimes some people like recently, like my other friend, he finished reading this series, and he was just like, I live vicariously through this guy. you know,
Huh.
I said, but like some of the scenes, man, do you really have to be so graphic? I'm just like, I'm like, listen, I wanted to appeal to everybody. Like
Mm.
you don't like it, like it's only like a paragraph or two. You skip to it, and you can go back to the action of the story. It's just like, but
Yeah.
the, it's kind of a necessary evil. It's like if you want everybody to read your books, you have to have something in there for everybody. And
Yeah.
the ladies like the erotica, so which is, I don't consider myself like an erotica writer. It's like you know, kind of just do stuff from common sense standpoint of what should happen here, and then I just kind of go with it for like a paragraph, and then, you know we move on to the next scene. We transition, as you like to say.
Hmm. Wow. See, I'm loving the series, and I can't wait to finish the first one and continue with the next because I'm loving the characters. I'm loving just the style, just everything. I can't wait what's next after Jake. Jake's story. I can't wait what's next in your list of many books of writing in the future.
Oh, definitely, and I appreciate you reading it, and like I said, I'm gonna send you the rest of the series. You know, if not today, probably tomorrow. And
Appreciate it.
I hope you enjoy it, man. And like, in any feedback from you, if is great. I mean, I know it's already written, but I mean, any feedback from you would be greatly appreciated. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much for giving me this time to speak to you and speak about your writing format and teaching someone out there that's maybe going through a rough time writing. Give them a little pointers here and there. That's what I love doing. Just bringing that to someone like myself struggling through it. And I know there's many out there of us, and we are really really reaching into our souls trying to bring the stories out there, but it's just we need the help. You know what I mean? So.
I know,
I
man.
appreciate that.
No problem. I wish like I said, when I was coming up, I wish I had somebody to do that
Yeah,
for me. More than happy to do it for anybody else. And whatever knowledge I can impart and whatever they can take from it, I'm happy to give. I have no problem with
I appreciate that. Well, you have a great night, Geraldo. All right.
it.
Have a good night. Bye.
Take
And that was Geraldo Cruz, author Geraldo Cruz, with Blood Ties and the series of Blood Ties and Bloodline. I hope you guys like that conversation. There's many more to come. Um, Go check out Geraldo Cruz on Amazon.com. Pick up his books. They are the best I have read in a long time, and you will like it. If you like that thriller type novels, what I mean. It's really hard to put that book down. I've been reading it. I've been reading it. Whenever I get a chance. But with five kids, it's not so easy to like have a time to to read as much as I would like to. But let me show you the title, the title cover, and so you can see what it looks like. So this is the cover right here. It's called Blood Ties. That's the first book of series of 9 books that Geraldo Cruz has written so far. And yeah, with that said, I will check you guys out next Thursday. We have another dope author coming in, talking to us about their style of writing and how they got started writing and what inspires them. But with no further ado, I am checking out for today's episode of My Gente Can Write podcast. Stay writing, my people. Yeah.